Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going way back in time now to South High School, Torrance, 1981, 1982, 1983. And one of my favorite albums of all time has to be this one, The Jam. This is the modern world. I love it. The Jam, baby. Now, let's frame this review of Clark the Shark's favorite album, maybe. I don't know. Now, incidentally, you're on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. The fabulous, amazing Clark the Shark Show, the encyclopedia brain of rock and roll, baby. Oh, you know that's Clark the Shark. From the golden EIB Sharkraphone, baby. The Wolfman Jack on crack. That's right, that's me. 1-800-449-8255. Clark the Shark. With the Jam. This is the modern world. And what an album this was for me. At age 16, 17, 18, 1982. Man. I don't think I could go a week or even a day without playing this album. Now, I love all the albums by The Jam, but at South High, me and my good friend Carl agreed that this was the best album. Now, what's weird today in 2023 is those other Jam albums get 5 stars, 4 stars. They get great reviews. Not so much for this one. This is the modern world. Now, I sense some ignorance going on here. Clark the Shark, the inspector detector, yeah, he suspects that some critics really aren't listening to albums, or either that or they don't know them. Because you would have to give this album 5 stars. I mean, all of the albums by The Jam are great. Paul Weller, all these guys, Foxton, these guys are geniuses. Punk rock genius. You know, I had to be careful as a kid because the mods, you know, at South High, who came to our school riding real Vespas with real green parkas. They liked The Jam, and I'd be like, dude, you know, you guys, I don't know, that's a punk rock band, The Jam. You know, the rockers, you know, the kids who wear leather that listen to, you know, Black Flag and Bad Religion and the Circle Jerks, you know, they like The Jam. And even in Torrance and Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach, there were people with real nice tans trying to be mods in Torrance. And I'd be like, dude, this isn't England. It's not Brighton. It's not Soho or Carnaby. It's not London. Come on, it's Torrance, you guys. Redondo Beach. I can kind of understand the punk rock thing here, you know, because people are into Greg Ginn, they're into Black Flag, and, you know, Mr. Brett, you know, Bad Religion, and all that, you know, come on. Keith Morris, Circle Jerks, Chavo, Henry Rollins, come on, it's Redondo Beach, where Clark the Shark is from, at 1-800-449-8255. But I remember it was a little controversial, me, Clark the Shark, being a lone guy, just me and my friend Carl, another guy named Mike O'Brien, and there were others who liked The Jam. But, you know, there was this punk rock versus mod rock thing, even in the South Bay. And I was like, come on, you guys, The Jam, you know, Paul Weller, they're punk rock, you know. And you had to be careful, you know. And me, I always got out of it by just being a guy in a T-shirt, and I'd be like, well, I'm into Neil Young, I'm into The Who, I play my drums, I'm Clark the Shark. But I had to keep it on the down low that I loved the Jam. This is the Modern World. And all their other albums, and, I think that's what drove me to heavy metal, like Iron Maiden and all that, because there was a lot of politics involved in the South Bay. There were people who dyed their hair bleached white and blonde, and it was confusing in like 1981. I would say from 1977, when I was just a little kid, before I was really schooled, in all this culture and the differences, in music. You had to be careful in the South Bay. I'm not kidding. In Torrance, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, San Pedro, Palos Verdes, Long Beach, Gardena, the whole area, man, you had to have your ducks in a row. And this is what drove me to be all alone. I knew punks, like Alan Mulch and Jim Moody. And then I knew really cultured kids like Jim Aviani that were into David Bowie. And me, Clark the Shark, I just wanted to like music. I wanted to like all music. I never wanted to be a part of anything. Like, I didn't want to put on leather and be a punk, or put on leather and be a metalhead, or, I never wanted any allegiance to any group or culture. And this is how I got so eclectic, baby, and so diverse. And there's so much variety with Clark the Shark. And it's because I just stayed myself. And I kept indoors largely. I had no friends, for the most part. And that's why I had such a big vinyl record collection. And people would literally come to my house because they wanted to see all the Frank Zappa and, the Jam and all the Black Flag, just all my vinyls. And, the guys at Go Boy Records would give me vinyl. I would buy vinyls at there, and the Rhodium. But, I was kind of famous for being the vinyl guy in Torrance who just had the massive collection. And there was no better album in my collection that I played more than the Jam. This is the Modern World. And my friend Carl Urhausen and me, we would listen to the Jam, all the albums. Lots of kids, man. There was, oh gosh, man. I don't know if I could get Alan Mulch to listen to the Jam, but I'm sure he did, A lot of people would say, that British Sex Pistols stuff, that it's just so corporate, it's just so polished. And I'd be like, the Sex Pistols, that's one thing. But the Jam, this seems like a raw rock and roll band of musicians. I mean, the drummer is tight. These guys are the tight three-piece band that made me, Clark the Shark, want to be in the Greenhouse Effect. Even with Phil Keegan, when we were playing Deep Purple, when we were playing Zeppelin tunes, there was something about that three-piece when I was on drums, singing lead, in GE with Carmody on bass and Keegan on guitar. Even though we were like a hard-rocking Yardbirds, Zeppelin, Deep Purple, garage band, a really weird band in like 1986, 87, 88. But there was a lot of the Jam, always, always, always in GE, in the Greenhouse Effect. This band here, even more than Social Distortion and Mike Ness, this band, the Jam, Paul Weller, and these three guys are great musicians. They're so tight. They're so polished. Man, what a band. What an album. And I like this album way more than the other Jam albums because the songs on this are so structured. They're so catchy. A lot of people think it's repetitious and it's boring. But you had to have lived it back in 1980, be 15 years old. there was just such a vibrant punk rock, and oh man, the South Bay just had this thing. And yeah, even if you weren't out there, I tried to get out there and, be part of it, man. And I, got into that band Outlash Control with Legion and the girl and all those people because I wanted to celebrate things like the Jam and Black Flag, and oh man, I wanted to be a punk, but I didn't want to be a punker. I wanted to be part of something, but ultimately I wanted to be an individual who did my own thing. And I think that's how the Greenhouse Effect got so weird. And it was just such an alien sound. It was all by itself. There were no bands like that. And Phil Keegan, God bless him, man. His guitar was so weird at 1-800-449-8255. And even Carmody on bass, who of course later was with the One-Handed Readers in the South Bay. Yeah, man, it was amazing times, punk rock times, but of course, heavy metal and, rock and roll in general. I don't like to pledge allegiance to anything or any style or country or blues. I can't stand it, man. I just wish we would all love each other and be in this big eclectic soup, cornucopia pizza, if you will. That's what Clark the Shark wishes the world could be, instead of people into country or people into blues or people into punk or people into metal or whatever, man. But, I don't consider myself a punk. I wish people in the South Bay wouldn't say that, because Clark the Shark considers himself just rock and roll in general, all over the place at 1-800-449-8255. And you won't find a better band than this one, the Jam, because these guys are such great musicians. Great songwriters, man. Paul Weller. And me and Carl, wow, we loved it. And of course, The Modern World, side one's just amazing. One of the greatest songs ever written in rock and roll. This is the Modern World. You've heard that one, baby. And it's awesome, man. It's killer. London Traffic, of course. Standards. Every one of these songs is catchy. Life from a Window, really catchy. The Combine, catchy songwriting, man. These guys were doing it early, and these guys were doing it first. Don't tell them you're sane, Sharky. No way, I never do. No way. I don't want people to know I'm sane. At 1-800-449-8255, The Clark the Shark Show, the Wolfman Jack on Crack, from the golden EIB Sharkraphone. I'm telling you about the Jam. This is the Modern World. 1977, I was just 12, 13 when this album came out, but honestly, I didn't really know this until like 1980, 81, when I was 15, 16 at South High, and of course, senior year, 1982, 83 with Carl. And then we would go to Skrock over there, where we would sort of meet all these kids from these other high schools like Palos Verdes and all these other Torrance schools. We would meet up with all these people at Skrock, and I'll never forget those times. 1982, 83, just before I went to El Camino in Torrance in 84. But the memories of listening to the Jam in this album, and of course side 2, 1-800-449-8255. Side 2 is better than side 1. In the Street Today and London Girl. And of course, I Need You for Someone. These songs are catchy. Catchy, well-written hooks. This is way better than Black Flag and Bad Religion and the Circle Jerks and all those. Is it better than Mike Ness? Maybe, man. It's repetitious. You know, if you're someone curious about punk rock and you want to listen to 1970s, late 70s punk, I recommend you start with The Jam before any other band, because these guys are really doing it better than the Sex Pistols, better than the Damned, better than the Ramones and Flag and you know, Circle Jerks and all that stuff. There's something about The Jam, you guys. Well-crafted songwriting. And of course, this band would rise to be a big hit band, making big hit songs like, you know, all over the radio, like Phil Collins or something with The Gift. And 1-800-449-8255, Clark the Shark Show, The Jam. Wherever Carl, my bro, Carl, dude, if you're listening to this review, go put on your albums by The Jam and rock them loud, brother, in honor and in memories of the great times we had back in the early 80s listening to The Jam. This is the modern world, baby. South High, 1981, 82, 83. El Camino College, 1984. The Jam. This is the modern world. Paul Weller. And I like this album more, almost more than I like The Who in 1966 with A Quick One. And The Jam are kind of trying to be like that album. You know, or maybe like The Who first album, My Generation, produced by Shel Talmy. They're trying to update that thing The Who were doing with this amazing album. But then, of course, they mixed it with that punk rock thing. And they would go to become a big band writing big hit songs that were on the radio. And sadly, The Jam would disband. These guys would break up at the height of their popularity. And to me, Clark the Shark, I remember, I was just like, man, that's a bummer, because this band was just about to turn into like Rush. I'm not kidding, you guys. These guys were about to become one of the biggest bands in the world of rock and roll. And had they been around, had they kept going, these guys would have been like the Police. I'm not even kidding. At 1-800-449-8255. Now, why The Jam broke up? You know, people say it's because Paul Weller just wanted to go solo. Maybe he'll make more money that way. Who knows? But it's a damn shame. And over the years, they've tried to make comebacks. But, you know, when you kill your momentum way back in the day, it's a little bit like me, Clark the Shark, and GE. There's no going back. You know, and over the years, I've tried to talk to Keegan. I've tried to talk to Carmody. I've tried to talk to Greg and Pele and Marty or whoever. And I just, you know, once it's over, man, if you're out there and you're in a rock and roll band, especially if you're in a three-piece band, just three guys, you know, like the James Gang or Rush or Triumph or the Jam, my advice to you is keep that three-piece band going forever or as long as you can. You don't want to break up a three-piece that's rocking good. At 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. Because I think it is a tragedy that the Jam is gone. And they never quite made it back. But they did put out a bunch of great albums in their day. And, you know, maybe Paul Weller was like, we're selling out. We're getting too popular. It's getting too commercial. Man, fuck that. At 1-800-449-8255. If you get big, if you get popular, if you make money, don't let it go to your head. Keep rocking. You know, I mean, if you're a good band, not some crappy band. If you're a great band like the Jam, It's important to try to put aside your differences and patch together things and keep the band going. Because I know when the Jam disappeared, Clark the Shark, was never quite the same. And I had to form the Greenhouse Effect with Keegan and Carmody because it was like almost my way of replacing the Jam. At 1-800-449-8255, the fabulous Clark the Shark Show from the golden EIB Sharkerphone, where you're really getting the only review of this amazing melodic punk rock band. Catchy, melodic, atmospheric, great drumming, great three guys, great musicians, really tight. This album should get all 5 stars, but it gets a lot of 3s, and that's not good. They don't know the Jam. These 3 guys, man, when I was 18 in 1983, man, they're important guys because they're such great musicians. They're so tight, you know, they're so talented. I love Bruce Foxton's bass. And Rick, he's great on drums. Of course, Paul, talented songwriter. He went solo, you know, but, you know, solo is never as good as the band, people. And when it comes to punk rock, when it comes to hard rock, loud rock and roll, when it comes to the greatest 3-piece bands of all time, the Jam, for me, Clark the Shark from Greenhouse Effect, at 1-800-449-8255, and the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. I love the Jam. I love the sound of this band. And I'm so bummed out. They disappeared, and they tried to make comebacks over the years. They played some big shows. But I wish the Jam... I wonder, what would a Jam album have sounded like in the late 80s? Who knows? Maybe it would have been really crappy. It would have been like disco or dance or, you know, that lame new romantic crap, you know, that electro dance shit back in the 80s. But I don't think so. I think the Jam would have, like, invented grunge, or they would have mixed, like, hard rock and punk and melodic hardcore, and they would have been this amazing band. In like 1989 or 1991, they would have been the grunge band, or they would have been like the tight punk rock band. The Jam, man, I love them. Paul Weller, all 3 of them, tight. They don't make any mistakes when they play, never. Exactly polished, tight songwriting. Punk rock, atmospheric. It's not garage rock. It's too polished. It's too professional. It's too clean. And that's why I love it. That's why I like it. Some bands, I like it because they're shitty and they suck and they're sloppy. Like The Who, like, you know, like Black Flag, like Neil Young, you know, like Zeppelin. You know, I think it's cool. I like that. But when I'm talking about the Jam, I like the fact that these guys are so polished and they were so amazing tight and their songs were so good. I don't even joke around about the Jam. No way. Clark the Shark, 1-800-449-8255. Because I grew up with it, you guys. I wasn't born in 1999. I'm not 24. And, dude, I don't review music on TikTok. I review music. I don't even want to be on YouTube, man. I just want to be on Vimeo and be on Blogger with autoplay. Autoplay, baby, on loop. The video starts. I just copy the whole, whatever, code, URL, HTML, whatever, and my video just plays. And I'm talking about great shit like the Jam at 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. And you just heard the word, you guys. You got the only review of this amazing punk rock band, Paul Weller and the Jam. Bruce Foxton, such a great bass player. Fuck, he's the greatest bass player. He never makes a mistake. Those 2 guys, Paul Weller and Bruce Foxton, very tight, great songs. I wish they would have gone on forever. I wish they never broke up, man. I hate solo projects. When Pete Townsend went solo, it ruined The Who. And look at how great and how huge and how big The Who were back in the day. And then Pete, he puts out great albums like White City, Empty Glass, Chinese Eyes, without The Who. It sucks, man. I hate that. And I kind of hate Paul Weller and his solo crap. Even though it might be good, it'll never be the Jam. No way, man. No way. Like Sting. Sting won't be the Police. Never, dude. Sting sucks. Phil Collins sucks. He'll never be Genesis. No way, dude. You know, you never saw Geddy Lee go solo because he knows he'll never replace Rush. No way, dude. I hate to see three-piece bands, one guy go solo out of a three-piece like Joe Walsh. I don't like it, man. And I have too much respect for the Jam. Too much respect to be mad at Paul Weller for going solo. But, dude, when I think about the Jam, how important this band was to me in 1983, Clark the Shark, 1982, I wish the Jam would have become like Rush or would have become like the Police and just went and did these amazing, great, big albums and great songs because that was their destiny. That was what they were going to go do. And they didn't do it. And it's Arrested Development, man. It's a destiny denied. Sort of like the Greenhouse Effect. Sort of like me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255. But people, I swear, looking back at 1992 and living in Playa del Rey, sometimes I think I did all I could do. Sometimes I think it was just God's will. It was just what the Lord wanted, and I can't explain it. Because so many people in the South Bay say that, like, why did Clark the Shark stop? And I don't think I ever stopped. I just maybe started replaying the oldies, or that's my way of keeping going. I don't know, you know, but I'm 57 now, 58 on April 27th. Next month, you guys. Will I ever record again? Will I ever play again? Will I ever play again with Phil Keegan and or Rick Carmody or any of the other guys in the band? Who knows? You know, who knows? But I want you guys to enjoy all the music at the Greenhouse Effect GE. Just Google Greenhouse Effect songs and go to Vimeo and Blogger and you'll find them. Or just Google my name, Clark Haggans, and you will find me. And you might even find this great band right here, The Jam. This is the modern world. A three-piece band. A tight, polished three-piece band that made me, Clark the Shark, want to play in a tight, polished three-piece band. I love The Jam, man. One of my favorite bands of all time. This is Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. The Wolfman Jack on crack. I'm not even joking around. I'm being totally fucking serious because I'm looking back at 1981 and 82 and 83. And I'm thinking about my days downstairs at 251 Paseo de Gracia in Torrance, Redondo Beach. And me listening to my Jam records. Listening to all that fucking cool punk rock. But I liked no band more than this one right here. The Jam. This is the modern world, baby. And we are in that today, 2023. And these three guys brought us here. The Jam. This is the modern world. At 1-800-449-8255. The Clark the Shark Show. And you just got the word, baby. The only review you will ever need of the fabulous Jam on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. And I'm out of here. Peace.